up in arms because it was revealed that Chairman Nunes met with his source on the White House grounds. But in a statement for a spokesman for Chairman Nunes, they explained, quote, Chairman Nunes met with his source at the White House grounds in order to have proximity to a secure location where he could view the information provided by the source. Makes sense. Joining us now with reaction, the author of the best-selling book, Cop Under Fire, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, and Salem nationally syndicated radio talk show host Larry Elder. Larry, let me check in with your legal mind for a second. Can you think of any circumstances under which a president-elect or a candidate should ever be surveilled?
I can't think of anyone, and I think that what we're finding out is that Donald Trump was not out to lunch when he tweeted that he might have been wiretapped, using the term very broadly. I'd be a lot more impressed with some of these Democrats yelling and screaming about Devin Nunes if they were saying that Loretta Lynch should have recused herself when she met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac, something that she never did. I'd be a little more impressed if they were angry at Hillary for not turning over documents during the Benghazi hearing and for giving us a bunch of different stories and for deleting documents, destroying evidence after they were under subpoena. I'd be a lot more impressed if the Democrats were upset with those kinds of things, but they're not. This is nothing more than politics. They're being hypocritical. They know that they're in trouble because Donald Trump is looking at least credible, and so therefore let's put the chairman on trial. That's what they do. That's what they're doing right now.
You know, one of the things I think that bothered me the most is the chairman saying, Sheriff, that this was widely disseminated. In other words, a lot of people saw this. Now, that goes into the issue of privacy, even if it was legitimate surveillance. And I think that is a question that needs to be answered. Let's say it was legitimate surveillance and you pick up a president-elect or a candidate. That should never be widely disseminated, right?
Right. It's not. Look, this is unprecedented, especially for an incoming president. The fact that Nunes went and briefed President Trump on this, that's what he should have done. I think the mistake he made, though, was releasing this to the public. He wanted a few headlines. He wanted some FaceTime with the media out of it. And that part of it kind of backfired on it. But I think a bigger issue here, as Larry indicated, is why the intelligence sources, the intelligence agencies are surveilling the incoming president and his transition team. For what? And I think it's a shame that the intelligence agency directors there couldn't go to the president-elect and tell him what was going on. Maybe somebody should have leaked it to him without leaking any information or any names, and just say, hey, there's something going on here that I think is illegal. But this is, as Larry indicated, this is the politics as usual that goes on in Washington, the partisan back and forth that the American people are tired of. We sent Donald Trump to Washington to drain the swamp and to get rid of this back and forth stuff for politics that does nothing for the American people, and get down to the business of serving the American people on the issues facing this country.
You know, I have a lot of questions here, Larry. Did they use, under the guise of legitimate intelligence gathering, legitimate surveillance, was that a ruse to really surveil the president? And the next question, the logical question after that, is who knew what, where, and when? And did the president know at the time, then President Obama? Was any of this shared with the Clinton campaign? You know, where are these leaks coming from? The only felonies we know in this case were committed by leaking intelligence. That's a violation of the Espionage Act. So and Comey wouldn't even acknowledge that there's an investigation into this, although he did acknowledge the investigation into, quote, Russia, even though there's no evidence that has been put forward whatsoever.
Well, that's right. I think it was Reince Priebus who says there's greater evidence of media collusion to get Hillary elected than Trump collusion with the Russians to get Trump elected. And there's a whole lot we don't know. These investigations are just now getting started. And so I would urge all people to relax. Let's get the evidence that will come in and find out. James Clapper, the National Intelligence Director under Obama, says so far there's no evidence whatsoever of any kind of collusion with Donald Trump and with Russia. And that ultimately is what I think is going to happen. We're not going to find any kind of evidence of collusion.
Yeah, and Sheriff, if you were doing an investigation, don't you keep that circle tight in terms of evidence that you're gathering? Isn't that the type of thing you would never let out? And if it was let out, you would be able to very quickly determine who did it?
The secrecy of these investigations is paramount. I get briefed on these things all the time, Sean, but, you know, you're not going to find Barack Obama's fingerprints on this. But he's all over this. He's not stupid enough to have ordered or directed or have been involved in any of the conversation. Might not be able to prove this, but he knew what was going on. I'll tell you what, I'll put myself in his position. If something like this was going on in Milwaukee County, in my agency, some high-level investigation, and somebody didn't tell me about it, I wouldn't be real happy about it. So, you know, it's one of those things that we'll never be able to work this thing back toward the president, the former president, but he's all over this thing.
I agree with that analysis. And you never know. Maybe somebody will talk. All right, guys, thank you both. Up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
The American people are not happy with these results. They know that when cities and states refuse to help enforce immigration laws, our nation is less safe.
The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, speaking about the need for sanctuary cities to abide by federal laws. Ann Coulter weighs in. That's coming up next.